It's dorkshelf.com. You're now rocking with TDF Everything. Spoiled Rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
Spoiled Rotten.
With Ban.
And Daniel. And it's probably going to be a noisy one because...
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there's construction, there's kids, there's stressed out dogs. So there's probably going to be barking.
Yeah.
And there's probably going to be some drilling and hammering.
Yeah, a little bit of background color for you all.
Yeah.
And also we need to mention that we are recording on a Thursday night because...
That's how life works.
Things are chaos right now. Life gets in the way. So if there's crazy stuff that happens over the weekend, like it's announced that Mark Hamill comes back to Star Wars Episode 9, don't kill us. We're not going to re-record stuff. We'll probably just tweet about it, which you can get our information.
Yeah, just go to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten. You'll find our social media there.
Yeah, you'll hear about us there. I mean, we'll tell you. Like, we'll tweet it out. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah,
Mark
it's happening.
Hamill coming back to Episode 9, baby.
Let's get into it right away.
Yes.
Oh, Spawn.
Boom.
Old Jamie Foxx.
Good old
hired.
Jamie Foxx.
I like him. People were mad about that.
I don't know why. I guess they're more mad about the fact that Spawn isn't going to be the main character, and I kind of get why, but at the same time,
I think that's a weird choice, but it's more, I think people were mad that maybe people were just mad that they're remaking Spawn, but it's not really.
I did like the first one. I will say I did like the first one.
I liked it because of the age I was when I saw it, but when I rewatched it, I was like,
oh yeah, it's not a rewatch movie.
They could do this again. I don't I don't feel like this is very special or like what are they gonna do? Ruin this? No.
Yeah.
Like I think we texted about it. Like I'm happy that Jamie Foxx is doing it because I do know that he's been talking about it for at least 5 years.
Yes.
And I know Todd McFarlane, who is Canadian, has been talking about wanting Jamie Foxx. Right. So I'm glad that worked out.
So I'm pretty sure he has something very specific for Jamie Foxx.
I just think that when he talks about using Spawn like Jaws or like that it's really going to be about the two cops. I don't remember their name. I feel like one of them's name is Twitch or something like that.
Sure.
That it's like, do you need a Jamie Foxx to do that? Because it seems like
that's how I feel. I'm like, you could. I mean, the reason
like you could bring back the original guy, Michael Jai White.
Yeah,
I'm sure he would be happy to do it.
Yeah, and he's still looking great. So I'm like, you can definitely do that. Although he doesn't have, I guess. Well, I know,
like, he does, like if you're not going to have him talk, particularly.
There's no. I mean, you might as well.
You just need the physicality, which Michael Jai White has.
You can get an actor like Ray Park, where it's like, oh, you're not allowed to talk in movies. It's like,
I just think it's an interesting choice to call the movie Spawn and then be like, bah, it's not really about him.
I kind of like it. I
think my idea is more. Obviously, for me, part of it being like when I was like, "Whoa, like Spawn is a black superhero. That's so cool." Yeah. Like in a post-Black Panther world, do you really want to put a muzzle on your only black character and like
that's a good
be
point.
Like, no, he's just in the sidelines. It's about these two white guys.
I like the thing I like about Spawn is the fact that his powers are limited in use. Like he can't use his powers the same way everyone else can. Like, I don't have to think about it.
Sounds like Iron Fist. It's gonna be great. I can't do it now. Sorry, chains.
No, it's not like that at all. So I mean, he's got a. If you imagine like. Every time he uses his powers, like a part of him dies or something like that. That's exactly what we're talking about. And there's a limit to what he can use. So I like that because every time he uses his powers, it's the decision that he's like, yes, this is worth it for me.
Right.
So it makes it a lot. It's a very different like hero altogether.
I think you're right, but I feel like that's something he's erasing by choosing to make it just like he just comes in to do cool things.
Yeah,
and then he becomes less of a character and more of just a nice visual effect.
For the budget that they have, which is 10 to 12 million, which is not a lot of money, it makes, I think it's a creative way of being a movie about
Spawn. I saw a trailer, I don't know if you've seen it, for a movie called Upgrade, which I just heard is 7 million, and they were able to do a lot of cool things. And it's Blumhouse, which is also very famously good at doing lower budget things.
Right.
So the budget part doesn't scare me. Just, all it means to me is we're not going to be getting like 10 versions of a trailer. And
but it also means that we're getting a movie with a big name attached to it, and that has a limit, like an even strained.
He's a popular name, but Jamie Foxx is never like led like you can't name a movie that Jamie Foxx is the lead in where it's like, whoa, that really killed at the box office. He's just a very talented actor.
Yes. So, you're right. In terms of commercial success,
he doesn't have that kind of like box office draw. No one's like the biggest look he probably had was Spider-Man 2, and no one was like, I'm going to the new Jamie Foxx movie.
Yeah, I mean, like what did Ray gross?
That was beyond independent film, though.
Yeah,
like that's
that
was like
amazing
all of their
movie.
all their money went
But
into
not
the
a
Oscar
blockbuster.
push after the fact.
Definitely not a blockbuster though.
Yeah,
for sure.
So that's what I'm saying is like I think you get sidetracked by hearing Jamie Foxx and thinking of how talented he is, but he's not a Will Smith. He's not for sure. He's not like that where you're like, whoa, that I bet $7 million of that is just his paycheck
just for his catering.
Yeah,
all that truffle.
And I don't want this to come off as like, who cares about Jamie Foxx? Jamie Foxx is one of my favorite entertainers.
Yes,
like
it just
he can
seems
sing, he can act.
Weird.
He's really funny. Yeah. Like I don't want to take away from that. I just also know that he's not like asking for $20 million a role,
right?
Even in the best circumstances.
Yes. So he must want to do this.
Yeah, as I said, he's been talking about it for like 5 years,
which is cool. Good for him.
And so I feel like most of the budget will be put into actually realizing Spawn and what he looks like. But yeah, I'm hoping that he kind of, because it's his first time writing, directing, right? So I think that probably means it's not going to be great. But also, like, I think maybe through the process he learns, like, you know what, maybe I need to, hopefully it's at the writing process, not the filming process, where he's like, you know what, maybe I need to, even to get to things like, what kind of decisions is he making to use these powers? Like, flesh out the character a little bit more.
Yeah. The other thing too, and because I've been reading the internet chat room boards about this kind of stuff, and a lot of people, because I love Spawn, but I don't read the comics, and that's where his media is in the comics. A lot of people, the fans of Spawn, have been very vocal about this. Like, McFarlane shouldn't be the one doing it because he's one that has a great idea, but he doesn't follow the execution is lackluster. So, I mean, if those fans are right, then to your point of like, oh, he's directing for the first time ever, you're right. It might be just like,
I only said that because like if he doesn't have the right people around him, it could be a very self-indulgent film, or just going down the wrong path and not knowing.
So like Michael Bay.
The Joker will have 2 movies.
Yes.
So I guess they're really serious about continuing talking about Joaquin Phoenix being the Joker, even though nothing.
Yes. So just to clarify to you guys right now, because you might be confused. Yes, there are 2 solo Joker movies in development,
and both actors have names that start with J.
Yes.
Coincidence, of course.
The first one is Joaquin Phoenix.
Well, we don't. I mean, he's joking. Like, who knows?
Who knows?
Did
but
that
I mean,
crazy movie where he messed with people.
Yeah.
But like, it seems like he's messing with people again. But I don't know.
But I mean, like, that's apparently the origin story one, so to speak, and that's not even related to the DC.
No, it's a one-off.
It's a one-off Joker movie for the sake of making a Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. That is one. This one that we are also talking about is the newly announced Jared Leto Suicide Squad Joker movie. Ouch.
I feel like they owe it to him.
Well, he was that angry, for sure.
I bet he doesn't even have to film anything new. I bet they're just going to piece together everything he did that they cut. No, I'm just trying to joke around. Yeah. But, like, I think clearly they sold him on something they were never really willing to deliver on. And this must just be like, all right, let's just do that. Like, why not?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be DC's new thing. Why not?
It's it's true. It's just like, okay, sure. It's funny because when I've been reading those comments and everything like that on the interwebs, there are people that genuinely love his performance. And then there are people that hate it. And then I'm just like, meh. So it's just
I
like
just didn't think it was a full thing. I was like, well, it seems like he's referencing stuff, which he probably was, considering they cut so much of his stuff.
Correct.
I was just like, I feel like I'm not seeing the full performance.
Yeah.
So I get that people don't like Jared Leto. So
I don't know why they don't like Jared Leto.
I think it might be related to Time's Up and Me Too stuff.
And
in general, people don't like when.
Yeah.
That's the probably more realistic thing, but I think also people don't like when it looks like people are trying hard, and I don't get that.
He did look like he was trying,
but
really
like
hard.
I've never understood that like hatred of like how dare he get paid and then trying to actually like commit.
That is true. It's just like
what
hey, he got paid $20 million, and you're acting like you're paid. Like
why doesn't he just coast through this performance?
Pretend like it's a $5 million paycheck and just get through this thing. Yeah, that's a really funny point. We need to hear more about this, but I am never excited for just a Joker solo anything.
Yeah, well, it's like your thoughts on the Venom thing too. It's
Exactly.
a hard sell, and more than Venom, like Joker is best when you don't really dig into stuff. Like,
he needs the mystery. His character is interesting because of the mystery behind it.
Yeah,
if you have him as a lead, like the issue is like if you look at solo Joker stories, which there are not a lot of, there's that one graphic novel I keep thinking of, Joker, where he is very much like the degree of Spawn, where he's not the main person. He's in that story they're following like this low level thug that just joins in with the Joker gang, and then everything you see about the Joker is through his perspective. So it's not even like, oh, it's a Joker story. It's like, no, this thug that's a throwaway about the Joker.
Yeah.
So it could be a very much similar thing to the Spawn thing, but at the same time,
honestly, I would watch it if it was like, because I guess that's the other thing we forgot to bring up, that they keep saying maybe Penguin will be like in the Birds of Prey movie or the Batman movie.
They want like Penguin no matter what.
Yeah. If the movie was like Joker screwing over someone like Penguin, I would watch that. Because then you don't actually have to like get into his background. It's just some crazy thing he did for an hour and a half or an hour and 40 minutes.
Yep.
And then I'm like, yeah, fine. I don't care. Great.
But again,
I watch Gotham. I don't have high standards when it comes to Batman related stuff. I just feel like I don't want two competing origin stories or like deep dives into Joker's psyche.
That. Yeah. Like the more you dive into Joker's psyche, the worse the character gets. It's not a character you should analyze very much. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, with the Heath Ledger Joker, there's some analysis out there that's truly amazing. It's like,
but that's like stuff, that's people leaning in. That's
them like projecting, for sure.
And or like, even if you can argue that there's some breadcrumbs out there, they're breadcrumbs, and he's a character in a movie, not like he's not the character the movie is about.
Yes.
So that's why it works better.
We'll see what happens, but the fact that it's Warner Brothers and a solo Joker movie has me very unexcited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if I can tell if I'm less excited than Solo, but we'll see. We'll have to see how those rumors churn out. But yeah, DC, I like that. Well, you know what? Just screw it. We'll do it. Whatever.
Yeah. We are well into this podcast. Let's get to this trailer reaction.
Yes. So, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is an animated Spider-Man film.
Far too long of a name of a movie, but yeah.
Yeah. Coming out in December, and it's a Spider-Man universe where all the Spider-Men exist at the same time. So we're talking about Spider-Gwen, we're talking about Miles Morales and Peter Parker. So the trailer,
Spider-Ham.
Yep. The trailer recently got released, and I am loving the visuals behind this.
I love it. I also really like how much they're leaning into his dad, because I always think of, Donald Glover played his uncle in Homecoming, and Mahershala Ali is playing him in this.
Yes.
They haven't even shown you Mahershala's voice. I guess everyone knows what he sounds like, but I really like the dad in this trailer. Like he's great. Like I thought I was gonna be like, stop talking, but I was like, I'm into it. Especially at the end when he's like, nope, I want to hear you say it. I love you, Dad. Dad, I love you.
Yeah. And talk about a great abuse of police power. Yeah. Just using that
if you're gonna abuse your power policeman, why don't you do it to tell your kids you love them?
Yeah. Do that. No one's gonna care.
I love the voice cast on this. I just brought it up. So I don't understand how she got first billed, but Haley Steinfeld, aka the woman from True Grit, she was good.
No.
Now she's just in Pitch Perfect movies and stuff. She's also in Bumblebee.
Oh yeah, she's the girl from.
Yeah,
We're not talking about that.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. But yeah, True Grit was her big thing where she got to be opposite Jeff Bridges, Matt Damon, and Josh Brolin.
That's big for her.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
So she's Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen.
Jake Johnson is Peter Parker.
Yep.
Liev Schreiber. Oh, they did put who he's playing. The Kingpin.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do see his silhouette in the trailer.
Yes, you do.
You
don't actually see him.
Lily Tomlin is Aunt May. That makes sense.
Yep.
Brian Tyree Henry, a.k.a. Paperboy from Atlanta, is the dad, Jefferson Davis.
Awesome.
Mahershala Ali is Aaron Davis, a.k.a. The Prowler, and someone I really like from my childhood, Luna Lauren Velez. She was on Dexter, but she also, for me, started on NYPD. No, New York Undercover.
Okay.
With the guy from Cool Runnings.
And of course, Miles
and Shameik
Morales.
Moore, who I loved in Dope, but he was also in The Get Down, which I did not love, but that's a thing.
With Phil Lord and Chris Miller producing.
I think they also wrote a version of the script.
I think so too. Which I don't know. This is leading up to be a very exciting film to me.
Yeah,
I'm loving it. It's
and I like that they said wait till Comic-Con, doing a little Deadpool fourth wall breaking of like wait till Comic-Con to find out the full extent of what's going on here.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And of course, Jake Johnson being that Nick Miller from New Girl, and it's a very very unique voice.
Yes, he does have
the reason why is if you're like, hey, who's that voice? It's a whole Nick Miller.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of an old Peter Parker.
Yeah, people were saying it's funny.
It's
Batman
funny.
Beyond.
Yeah,
like where the original gets to teach the new guy.
Yep.
And the new guy's got new powers, but still similar thing.
Yep.
So I'm down for that.
But not
I like
gruffy and gruffy Batman. Where it's no. I'm basically xenophobic and hate everything.
No, it's fun times. What did I like? That's an interesting take on Green Goblin. That he's just a full-on dragon thing,
full-on monster.
Yeah, I
like the fact that you can pull that off in this kind of movie.
Yeah,
I mean it's animated, so you know it's larger than life, and that's exactly what they pull into.
I love his web slinging and just bouncing off of things. It's very kinetic and fun.
I like the fact that you're seeing a lot more of the Miles Morales powers.
Yeah, like he's vanishing.
Yeah, he vanishes. I don't know if you're going to see that stinger kind of thing he does, but I didn't.
They might bring that out later.
Trailer.
I also like that when he's running, it's like his inner monologue saying, "I'm a normal boy. I'm a normal boy."
That was great.
That's really cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that quintessentially from a comic book lifted directly out of it. I'm like, that's amazing. That looks visually so cool to do. I hope it's only for low kind of scenes there, and I think I saw a bam or something like that when someone got hit. So I'm like, cool stuff, but we'll see if it's overdone or what the balance is there, but it's really, really cool so far, and I'm really enjoying this, so looking forward to it.
Nothing negative to say.
Nothing
other than I'm eagerly awaiting hearing who else will be in the movie. Not just from a cast point of view, but just characters, because that's fun. I didn't even think Gwen Stacy would be an option.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting, because she just goes hi, I'm Gwen Stacy. I'm like, But I mean, they call her Spider-Gwen, right?
Yeah, she will be eventually Spider... Or maybe it's going to be like Selena Kyle in Dark Knight Rises, where you're just like, I guess that's Spider-Gwen, and I guess that's Catwoman.
Yeah.
They never say it.
They just never really say the name.
Yeah, it's just...
Fair enough.
It's obvious who it is, because everyone knows that suit. Well, you've listened this long without hearing what we're actually going to be talking about today.
The entree.
Now it's time to tell you.
Here
Ben and I are going to go back and forth and give you our top 10 MCU villains.
Yes. Our audience, dare I say fan base, is quite aware of how much I love villains.
Yep.
And with the release of Thanos and with the Ant-Man Wasp movie coming up, I think it's a good time to take a look back at the entire MCU and see which villains are doing really, really good right now, as we rank them from our top 10 of all time in the MCU universe. So this is going to be 10. Yeah, we are going to start at 10 for sure. All right. So my 10 is Aldrich Killian. / the real Mandarin.
I almost put him on there. I like that choice.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, continue.
Yeah, I'm liking it because, I mean, like, he's a very, very relevant and smart villain in the sense is like, okay, yeah, I understand that I'm whatever, this evil dude doing whatever, but we need someone theatrical, and then brings in the Ben Kingsley, Mandarin, and then he's like, okay, yeah, but if I was that theatrical, I wouldn't be able to get this shit done, kind of deal the way I wanted it to, so I just hired this guy, and then you get this amazing Ben Kingsley like performance of like, oh yeah, you're like hardcore on camera, and then he's like, you're really this drunken actor that's kind of an idiot, and it leads to some really, really funny things. And Iron Man 3, yes, it had a lot of problems. But I think the villain of Killian was one of the more aware and smarter villains.
I liked it because, well, no one. That was like when we were like, we even knew like, oh, obviously Marion Cotillard is playing Talia al Ghul. No one saw that.
No one saw that.
Everyone was just like, what? I get people are angry about that, and everyone wants like that actual version of Mandarin. But to me, that made sense in terms of the MCU building out that like. That was someone that legitimately had a grudge against Tony Stark. They actually considered killing themselves because of Tony Stark.
Yep.
So that, to me, I was like, yeah, that makes sense that would be this version of the Mandarin.
Yeah.
I didn't really like when they tried to pull it back and be like, no, there might be still a Mandarin out there. I was like, nah. I feel like that was it. That was a good thing of like, this guy legitimately hates him and has orchestrated all these things to screw him over.
Yeah.
And then comes out of the shadows as the guy that's going to try and kill him.
Yeah, it's a great thing. And you're right. Like, I didn't even remember the whole, like, oh, well, it may actually be him kind of deal. So I wish they, like, leaned into it. It's like, immediately, like, nope, this is him.
Well, I mean, he does say, I'm the Mandarin.
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
one point. And I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like it.
The thing I didn't love about it was, like, the CG, like...
No, it didn't look good, and maybe he overacted
good
in that scene, but
yes,
as a concept, I liked it.
Yes, absolutely, and that's where I was coming from. What's your 10?
Crossbones, baby.
Ooh.
It became clear to me making this list that I like a lot more of the villains than I thought I did.
Yeah, you did.
I think for Crossbones, I put him at number 10 because he's not on the level of all Killian.
No,
he's just that was actually like a physical threat. Like for whatever reason, all the talk going into Civil War was they're going to kill Captain America, and I was like, this guy might do it right now. Like, he had a whole suit that was like, no, I built this to kill you. I'm going to kill you. And I was like, for that moment, they made me like forget that there still had to be another 2 hours and 20 minutes in the movie.
Really?
And I was like, yeah, like they might, I don't know, like maybe they'll bring him back, but like they might kill him right now. And I just thought like he is a good physical presence. Yes. And like that was he's a great villain to show the strength of the people he's going up against. So like even Falcon gets to fight him, Cap gets to fight him, and it shows off more so than Batroc the Leaper, who's just kind of a one-time thing. Like Crossbones, for better or like more or less, gets developed over Winter Soldier and Civil War, and so when he comes back in Civil War, you're like, okay, like yeah, this is it. Like he's coming for him, and I know exactly why. I mean, he does say for throwing a building on my face, but having seen it, you're like, no, I understand why he's coming for him.
Absolutely, it's a great character. Very underrated because of the thing. I think to your point, a lot of people dismiss the development that he had in Winter Soldier and just look at his now he's got the suit now he's Crossbones. But I'm like, no, if you combine them like the way the MCU is meaning for you to do anyways, it's a fantastic character arc for sure that gets completed. Yes, arguably way too soon in Ultron, but at the same time, if you combine it with Civil War, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I really like
that. Number 9, got myself some Winter Soldier. I loved it. I really did. The way it messed around with Cap's emotions and everything like that. No,
that is the best thing about him.
It was the best thing about him. It was great. It was like the whole metal arm, the whole like everything about it. It was so good. And then obviously, yes, I like it when he turned into Bucky and White Wolf and everything like that.
I refuse to accept White Wolf as his thing.
Yeah, but I loved him as Winter Soldier. I thought it was so good. It just played on everything. It was a moment where you're like, oh, that was good. That was really good.
I really liked him. I mean, the only reason I didn't put him on the list is he's so far gone from being
he's no longer
that,
a
like,
villain.
that he's had 2 movies now where he's the good guy.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he's appeared in more than that, but like even if you count the first Captain America, but like, from Winter Soldier, he still has technically been in Civil War, Black Panther, and Infinity War as a good guy. But like, I considered putting him on for those very reasons that like it's such an it's a physical problem for Cap, but also an emotional one. It makes him that much more interesting.
And it's fantastic too because as much as I love watching people fall to the abyss into the dark side or whatever, I do like seeing the redemption as well. And he redeems himself very, very well, I find. He makes some rational, very good decisions that, you got to put me under until they can fix this thing. That was his decision. Everything. It was just such a good character. And it just messed with Cap so well. And I loved it.
And
it was
Iron
great.
Man.
Yeah. And Iron Man.
He got them both good.
He got them that love triangle there. That was fantastic to play out. That bromance triangle. Loved it.
Number 9. I put Hela.
Ooh.
I just rewatched it yesterday again.
Yep.
Much like Crossbones, she doesn't have a lot to do in terms of like mentally messing with people, but I do like that she's got a plan.
Yep.
She sticks to it. And I mean, she does. She takes physically does it though. Like she takes apart Thor. Like she takes his eye, she takes his hammer, and really makes him doubt himself. And it's not even Thor that beats her at the end. He has to like get a bigger villain to beat her. So she's pretty formidable in that sense. Yeah. And like I enjoyed watching her on screen like operate. Yeah.
She shows up later on my list too, so I might as well talk about the stuff that I liked about her too.
Wait till your thing. I went back and forth, and I feel like we should just wait if we've got similar
different
things.
Aspects that we like. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Just because I don't want to make it seem like you're just
that's a spoiler within our spoiler-filled episode.
But I really liked Hela, and I guess rewatching it made me put her lower on the list because I'm like, I guess she doesn't do much in the movie, but like she commands every scene she's in. She's a very interesting character to watch unfold, and as I said, she does pick apart Thor, and to the point where he can't stop her, even when he has Loki, Valkyrie, and Hulk. He needs to get some other entity to like take her down. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, number 8. I got myself some Ultron.
He's also on my list. Yeah. Obviously not at 8.
Yep. The reasons why I like Ultron is just because he represents the failure of Tony Stark.
Didn't even think about that. Yeah.
You know, and it's just like Tony's like all about, and that to me is like one of those good metaphors, like the drawback of technological advances, and that kind of metaphor. So Ultron being like, yeah, we can advance technology all we want, but at the end of the day, we got to have humanity behind it with that artificial intelligence and everything like that. We can lose control. And that metaphor was really, really great to me. The idea that he's alive for 5 minutes, surfs the internet, and concludes everyone needs to die is also hilarious to me. But I mean, you got James Spader there, and he's such a good villain to me.
Agree.
I love James Spader as Ultron. His vocal work, everything is just those little moments. Is like, what do you call those little things? Oh yeah, children. Yeah, like that was so funny. I'm like, only James Spader could do something like that and make it work.
You will get no arguments from me.
Yep. I mean, visually he was kind of lackluster, but I mean, the intent for him was to be in Vision's body, anyways. So I mean, like whatever. But the reason why he's so far down the list is just because Ultron is the quintessential Avengers villain in the comics, and it's just a one-off here. And because he's supposed to come back repeatedly over and over and over again, and we don't have that anymore. But arguably, we can't have that in the cinematic universe.
No, I'm not a fan of like unless it's like a Crossbones or something, like having like someone like Ultron come back again, and you're kind of like,
You mean like Loki?
Yeah. But like, I just feel like, I mean, for an Avengers thing, right? Like,
like
Loki is so attached to Thor that you're like, obviously he's gonna be there.
Yep.
And Loki isn't the main villain of
No, he just keeps coming back.
Thor:
Yeah.
The Dark World, and he's obviously not the villain in
Yeah.
Thor: Ragnarok. So that's different. I just feel like it's not like Ultron's gonna be like maybe a team player with them sometimes. It's just
No,
like
Ultron's pure on.
yeah, like you would need
I'm
to
gonna
like
kill
commit
this.
to him again, and I'm just like let's
And that's why I'm like,
explore the villain.
yeah, and that's why I'm like, you can't have him in that role because
Yeah.
he's just gonna keep coming at them, and I mean, like, it'll be kind of like a doomsday situation where it's just
you
like,
mean like DC's Doomsday?
yeah, DC's doomsday kind of situation where you're like, you can kill him, but he's gonna come back kind of deal. That's why it doesn't work well with film and
Yeah,
that
I
kind
agree.
of thing, because there's no new motivation, there's no new character, there's no anything. So I mean, I like the fact that they killed him off right away. Didn't love that, but at the same time, he does some crazy stuff. Like, he was the first one to actually kill an Avenger.
Yeah,
And that's a huge thing. Like, that's the
True.
first time a lot of things turn around. You're like, oh my god, there's some stakes involved now. It's not just everyone. Heroes are going to win every single time. They lose every now and then. So,
especially in
villain.
the next Avenger movie.
oh yeah,
Do you have more?
Nope.
I didn't want to cut you off.
Yep.
Are we on 8?
yeah, we're on 8.
Claw.
Ulysses Claw.
Yeah. He's a real fun guy. I loved him in Ultron.
Yep.
And I was like, I hope he comes back for Black Panther.
Yep.
And then he did, and he was wonderful.
He was wonderful.
Again, this bottom 3, not much to do with how they mentally mess with the characters or anything. It's just straight up about how much fun it is to watch him execute his plan.
Yep.
Like hella. Like his first scene where he like pretends like he's gonna let the guy go just so he can spread out the crime scene and make them look like amateurs. Like
Right.
great. Or like his interaction with Ross where he's just like, yeah, I do have a mixtape coming. You want the SoundCloud link?
Yeah.
Like or that he pulls out the vibranium from his like crotch, like just disrespecting everybody and
Yeah.
everything, and just having a great time. He is great, and I'm glad he's dead. But it was fun watching him over those 2 movies.
Yep. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, fantastic.
Do I have
I'm
more
kind
to say about him?
yeah. No, you can say more you want. He's not on my list. I wish he was though, because I completely forgot about him.
There's someone else I forgot about,
Yep.
but then I put them on at the last second.
Yep.
So hopefully I have thoughts about it.
Ooh.
Claw, I think I liked that, like, in the comics, he's just really associated with Black Panther, but
Yes.
that he had interactions with Ultron and the Avengers.
Yeah, they expanded him a lot. It was great.
And so he meant a little bit more when you saw. I guess that's kind of the trade-off, that, like, he wasn't he's still a big deal to Wakandans. Like, they care about him. They want him dead. But because he's not in that movie for so long, you still have 2 movies worth of Claw, so you get the idea and you get what he's all about. So I was really happy about that. And it's Andy Serkis. Who doesn't like watching Andy Serkis go to work?
It's just funny because, like, whenever you see Andy Serkis in real life, you're like, I feel uncomfortable because you should be mocap right now.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. I don't hate Andy Serkis. I just said that because it's a funny joke, or at least what I think is a funny joke. Number 7, Mr. Red Skull.
We have the same number 7.
We do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Continue. I will add on to what you have to say.
I mean, aside from the fact that it's Hugo Weaving, it's just such like it.
I guess we're both basing this off just the first Avenger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause
we're not
that's-
basing it off of Infinity War.
Well, no, that's not even him. So, but the thing is, the Red Skull is like in Infinity War. It's definitely not. When I say it's not him, it's not the Hugo.
It's not
Weaving.
Hugo Weaving.
But the character, like, it shows up, like you guys already know. But yeah, Hugo Weaving is just fantastic physical threat against Captain America. Highlighted basically all the evil that Captain America was fighting against.
Right.
And it was just so drastic. And the idea that he's just like, no, and him and Cap fight until the end. It's just insane to me how good that rivalry is between the both of them.
I thought they did a great job of building up that rivalry in the first movie. Like,
Yeah.
they don't even really get to fight the first time they meet. Like, it's like actually physically get separated by like the visual of Red Skull is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I obviously remember the one where it was like J.D. Salinger's kid.
Mhm.
He was Captain America, and I was just like, that's Red Skull, I guess. But like this, I guess people don't like the way he looks in the MCU, but I thought it was a great.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it. It's part of the reason Hugo Weaving didn't want to come back, but like I thought he visually looked great, and I loved exactly what you said, that he was like, why would he give you the serum? And like it became personal to him. It was like it kind of threw him off because he was like, I do evil things, but what the fuck? How did you? Why would he give it to you? This makes no sense. And it becomes to reference Ant-Man for the second time this podcast, they tried doing that with like the Darren Cross character.
Yes. It didn't work well.
Not as effective as this first time with the Red Skull, where you really believe that he would be like, it is personal now. Like, before I was just trying to take over I was trying to take over the world, but now I want you to pay for taking what I felt was my spot.
Yep. It's absolutely. That whole like jealousy, that rage behind it all was in so many ways, that whole like everything about Red Skull is perfectly done.
And it was good writing, because they're like, like it brings out what you really are like. So like obviously he's a jealous guy, and that's like it's like coming out even in the way he looks and just how it affected him. Yeah. And again, a great villain for Steve Rogers to go up against, because it really does come down to, we had the same thing happen to us, and this is how it affected us. Yeah. So I really liked Red Skull. And
I loved it too. And the fact that he comes back in Infinity War, huge shocker, I think, to everyone.
I didn't see that. I mean, as I said, I was watching things where like, obviously he's back, but he's going to be one of the Black Order. And I'm like, why do they think this? And then he was there. Yeah.
But not Black Order.
And I was just like, wow. Yeah. All right. And I was happy to see him. I was like, hey.
I was really happy to see him. And then to me, I'm just like, oh my God, like, you've been stuck there forever, and you've had so much time to deal with all the crap that you've had to deal with, and it came down to you giving up your search for the Infinity Stones and just being like, no, I'm the guardian of the Soul Stone now. And
do you think you'll see Captain America ever again? Like maybe they'll punch each other one last time?
I don't know. It's hard to tell with the Reality Stone. I don't think so. I really don't.
I feel like that's the only reason to bring him back in particular as the guardian, so that there's one last showdown. Interesting. Especially if this is like the last of the original Avengers, pretty much.
But I mean, if that was the case, I would imagine that Thanos would have taken him and that could be done in the next one. But he could be like, no, take me with you. I want to come. I want to leave this planet. Like, I will be your Hild. I will basically be your Silver Surfer to your Galactus kind of deal. But I just got the sense where he was just like, no, I'm just going to stay here. But at the same time, he could come up, because now that he's no longer guarding the Soul Stone, what is he doing there? What's his purpose? Does he have a purpose anymore? I guess he has to create one. It's not like he lives in a world where he knows that Captain America is still alive.
Well, I just mean like if Thanos has to go there to get the Soul Stone, maybe they have to go there to get like more information about the Soul. Because do they know everything?
Oh, they definitely don't know everything.
Iron Man knows what the Soul Stone deal is, because he heard Nebula talk about it. But if he's with Captain America, they might go together, and then he'll be like, oh, let's fight. And then I'll be like, this is cool. It makes no sense, but I'm happy about this.
The visual of it would be cool. Yeah. And of course, if that's how they're going to kill off Captain America, by him fighting Red Skull for all of eternity. I don't know about
killing off. I just mean like in their last hurrah, I always associate Captain America with Red Skull. Not always. In the MCU, but like if they wanted to bring something back from the comics, why not have them face off for the last time?
I mean, it could like if they did Captain America fights Red Skull, and that teleports them to a different dimension, and they're fighting until the end of time, like they do in some comic arcs and some TV arcs. Then it's a nice nod of saying like, goodbye, Captain America, without actually showing us the visual of his dead body. Right. Which I don't think is disturbing, but some of the younger viewers might, knowing that this is still a family. Anyways, so our number 7 is the same. That's awesome. Let's move on to number 6. I got myself some Thanos for number 6. Didn't end up as high on the list as I wanted him to, or thought he would. Yeah. That's my number 6.
You really made me regret what I put as my number 6.
Because you wanted like, I got that. I got Thanos too. Thanos is my number 6. Is yes, he's powerful. He's crazy powerful. He's crazy smart. He does all these things. But then there's a lot of loopholes and like issues that fall within his plan of like, oh, if I just kill half the universe, then everything will be happy. First of all, why does he want things to be happy? Why does he care at all? There's so much hatred and anger in him. Why does he care that people are suffering? It doesn't make sense to me. And then it's just like, okay, well, you have the Infinity Gauntlet. You're going to kill half the people instead of doubling the amount of resources. If you really wanted to make people happy, you would just be like, here, unlimited resources. I'm just going to keep this on my hand and never take it off to allow you guys to do that. Instead of like, hey, I'm just going to kill half of everybody. Like, what was the purpose behind that? And the whole like, I'm going to kill people here and then just do that, obviously, to Gamora's planet, and then to Drax's planet, and then he apparently stops, gets other people to start doing it, and then just backs off entirely.
Yeah.
Weird.
I will address that when I talk about Thanos later in the list.
Yeah. What's your 6?
Ultron.
Oh.
He was higher before. If you go to tdfeverything.com/lists, I did a list about the MCU villains, but it did not include anything from 2017.
Right.
But obviously that does still include Ultron, and it comes down to what you were talking about. Yep. James Spader in particular as Ultron makes for a very entertaining character. I think a lot of people were upset that he wasn't like an out-and-out badass, like, say, a Thanos, like a cold-hearted. Like, right. I liked that they continued to show that he's learning things, so, like, he can't keep all that information. So, like, yeah, when he doesn't remember the name for kids, it's a meta moment, but it also, like, comes off as a real thing of, like, because he's like, yeah, what are those things that humans create that just kill them off? Or, oh, yeah, kids. Like, yeah, I get it. It's, like, his, like, removal from that reality makes him more interesting to watch operate. He's a one-off villain, so he can't be that high on the list for me. Yep. But I did really enjoy the time spent with him, and I get that people are mad because it's called Age of Ultron, but he didn't last for years. Right. But it's just a title. Like, I'm
if
not
you're going
like,
to be technical, and age is, I don't know how many, it's like hundreds of thousands of years or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I just think that, like, it's obviously a nod to the comic series, but like, you get what you're gonna get into, and everything you said, like, it's a failure of Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. Yep. He seems to get a pass on that, even though he definitely was a part of that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, like, the idea that it is Tony Stark's logic that probably made him be like, oh, well, just kill all these humans then, because then they're the ones ruining everything. Yep. I love that scene with Claw where he gets mad that Claw's like, wait, that's a Tony Stark thing you said, and he cuts off Claw's hand, being like, I'm nothing like him, and he's like this rebellious kid who hates his dad. Yeah, like, all of that. Like, I think it's far too interesting to just pass it off as like, he's only in one movie. Not that you said that. I know that criticisms of Ultron
a lot of
that,
people
like, oh, and he was too funny. I'm like, God, give me a break. Like, it's like, he's interesting, and it's a part of a character choice that maybe you don't think that because it's James Spader and he has a very similar approach to his roles, but like, it's still well used in that movie. That James Spader, like, detachedness works, even if the whole movie doesn't.
But here's something I forgot to bring up there too, and I think the other aspect of what makes it so good was he was such a human character for a robot, AI, sentient being.
Yeah, like when they said, like, oh, he didn't, like, when they go back and see that Jarvis was messed up, he's like, oh, like, he was scared. Like, he was like, oh, I need to break this. Like, it wasn't like a calculated move. It was, and it's exactly what you're saying. Like, he was human to a certain degree because he had two humans' brains making up his. Oh no, that's Vision. Never mind. Yeah. But it was no. It's still him. It's him. It's him. It's Stark and Banner that make Ultron.
The fact that he's very human in a robotic body is so interesting to watch, versus the flip side of Thanos, where it's like, oh, you're in a organic body, but you're so cold that you're almost like a robot. That flip is kind of great to me, but also I think that final scene where you see Ultron and Vision having that like small mini philosophical debate about humanity is so cool. Like you have
I
two
forgot about
robots talking about humanity. This is the coolest thing ever. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Ultron.
Yep.
Obviously not top 5 fan, but still a fan.
Yeah.
Who's your number 5?
5 is Hela. No,
Nice.
I really liked Hela for the same reasons you did. Was kind of hoping that she would embody death in the whole Thanos thing, but of course they didn't do that. But another reason why I loved Hela so much, other than the fact that yes, you know, at Thor, he's cocky, he's been able to do all these things, he just like beats everyone up and all that kind of stuff, destroys Mjolnir right off the bat. The idea that she and Odin, she represented that past of Odin.
I forgot to bring that up.
Absolutely hated. Just the idea was like, oh, what the hell? That's not peaceful and everything like that. And just breaks apart the like sky.
That's I'll let you finish that. Sorry, continue.
Was so cool to me because I'm like, yeah, you know what? You might be a good ruler now, but how did you get there? How did you rule 7 kingdoms or whatever realms or whatever? How did you get to that point? And there was bloodshed. There was a lot of bloodshed, and it was Odin and Hela together. And all of a sudden, Odin's like, you know what? I'm ashamed of that now. I'm going to lock you away. And that just anger built up over time and just manifested itself into Hela coming back right away. It was awesome to me.
That's another element I wanted to bring up that I agree with, is that I feel like a lot of people who criticize villains in general, not just MCU villains, are like, they think that the villain just goes crazy for no reason. Whereas you right away, as soon as she's like, I'm your sister, and our dad just locked me up because he was done with me. You're like, oh, like right away, I get why she's mad. And that's, I think, why I liked her resolve of like, no, I'm not going to be nice at all. Like, fuck you guys. My dad used me for however long and then just decided on a whim, not anymore. I'm just going to lock you up and completely erase your existence in our history.
And, oh, by the way, I'm the rightful heir to the throne, not you, Thor. Like, that to me is crazy. I'm like, okay, yes, Asgard should, technically under your Asgardian rules or whatever it is, should have been Hela's. And then now you have to fight to defend what's rightfully yours, making Thor the underdog, making that movie so much better, him fighting the way back to on top and all that kind of stuff. To me, fantastic. And, of course, a great setup to a great dad joke. It's like, what are you, the god of hammers?
Yeah.
I love that. Was so good. Hela, number 5. Number 4.
No, I haven't done my 5.
Oh, you haven't done your 5. Sorry about that.
Loki.
Ooh.
I know people really like him as a thing, but he's barely a villain by like the last 2 times you see him. He's barely, like, even by Thor Dark World, pretty much you're like, oh, this guy's not a villain. He's like not trustworthy, but like we see at the beginning of Thor Ragnarok, his version of ruling is just being like, yeah, just put on plays about me and we'll just hang out.
Just
like he's not enslaving anyone. He's not doing anything wrong. He's just like, yeah, just do plays about me and I'll enjoy them and we'll all have fun.
Right.
No one was scared when like they're all just hanging out having a good time.
Yep.
So that's why he's not that high on my list of villains. It's more like he's a very great character.
Yes.
Who even till the end is waffling on whether or not he actually loves his brother and everything. So he's a very interesting character. I couldn't justify not having him on the list. I just didn't think he ranked in the top villains, but like especially for the amount of time he's been on screen and like what he's actually accomplished. It's like the Avengers by far is his most evil, and it kind of seems like a anomaly, like one of those things where you're just like, wait, because he's not even like, even by Thor you're like, what turns him is that he was lied to, and Odin was like, oh yeah, sorry, you're not actually my kid. And he's like, well, what the fuck? And then he gets angry, but like his whole thing is, I want my dad's love and I want my brother's respect. And he does like sibling rivalry things, but it's like he's not like, as I said, like Avengers is like this one-off where he's just straight up a bad guy. But like every other movie, you can see what the issue is, and you can see that like if he had it his way, he wouldn't be evil. He would just have his parents' love and like feel like he belonged.
Yeah. I've got him on my list a little bit later on, so I'll
Yeah.
speak to my points to that later on. But number 4, we have Zemo for me. I loved Zemo.
He's great.
He is so good. He and Thanos are arguably the 2 villains that actually get what they wanted to get done.
Mm-hmm.
That commands respect in itself. The only issue is that, and this is because we talk about Civil War as well as just Batman versus Superman, because they're essentially very much the same
Zemo
movie.
is Lex Luthor.
Zemo is Lex Luthor, and they just do a better job of fleshing out the fact that it's like, yes, it is him that's manipulating, pulling all these strings around and doing all that kind of stuff. And I love that for a character that doesn't have a physical threat or any powers. He was intellectually way smarter than everyone else and made them fight each other. The idea that the philosophy of empire that falls by attack from other people will always rise again, but an empire that falls within itself will never rise again. You're done. He effectively destroys the Avengers, and that is so cool to me. And he just puts this rift between Tony and Cap, and for multiple movies he has that effectively done, and he just does so much stuff. And the sadness of that character, where every single time he was on his phone, you didn't catch that right away, but I did. The fact that he's like, oh man, he's calling just to hear that voicemail, just to hear his voice, and that hits home, because they say when you lose someone, the first thing you forget is their voice.
Yeah, okay.
And for him to for them to zero in on that from a writing perspective, and really it shows you how tortured he is. This is how much I miss my family, and it's because of you guys just doing whatever you wanted in Age of Ultron. This created me kind of deal. I've got to follow this through. It was amazing to me to see.
He's an amazing villain.
Yep.
I'll have to talk about him later.
Yeah.
Because my number 4 is Vulture.
Oh, Mr. Adrian Toomes.
Yep, he's great.
Yep.
I think much like Hela and the villains, well, not most of the villains that are about to come after Vulture, not except for one, you cannot argue very much with his logic of people like Iron Man don't care, and they're just ruining lives left and right.
Yep.
So I need to pick apart. And what you have to respect about him as a villain is that he's not trying to make a show of it. He even says, what are you, a wrestler? No. He wears the suit because it specifically helps him do what he needs to do under the radar. He never wants to go above the radar, so it's he could have had longevity. So that's me respecting him just as a character. But that scene where he's driving Peter and Liz back to, what is it, Homecoming? It is Homecoming. That's what the name of the movie is. Just, I never really understood Homecoming. The concept, not the movie. When he's driving them, I was just this is amazing, and it has nothing to do. Usually I hate when the villain and the hero aren't in their suits and they fight, but this was just done so well with the writing and his performance. I mean, just take nothing away from Tom Holland, who was doing a great job as well, but he doesn't have to say much, so it's all visual for him, which he's obviously great at.
Yes.
And just the way Michael Keaton plays that car scene, I mean, because that's when he knows where, to me, I said in a recent post that he was amazing even just from opening the door, and when you're whoa, it's him. I'd read a rumor that, or not even a rumor, it was a spoiler that was wrong. They got the wrong character,
right?
But I was whoa, okay, that really sucks. And just the way he plays all of that is so great, and he's again a joy to watch on screen with great logic that makes you be I mean, he's not wrong. And if Spider-Man didn't get it his way, he's stealing from Iron Man, not although there were people stealing from banks, but that wasn't him. He was just stealing from this rich guy who was gonna smash and took away his livelihood. So I was just you know what, I obviously don't root for the bad guys as much as you do, but I was I get it, and it's hard to disagree with him.
And it's actively not even stealing too. It's because his thing is, I'm gonna take the junk that you don't need.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last one is specifically to steal from him.
The last haul for sure. But in this situation where he's like, oh, you don't need this stuff so we're just gonna take it. We're gonna make our own weapons of it and live our lives because no one up there is taking care of us, so we're gonna take care of ourselves. It's fantastic, and I should wait until I actually get to him later on in my list. But fantastic. Number 4 is Vulture for Dan. Number 3 for me is Loki.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
I really enjoyed Loki. You're right. He's only the villain in Avengers, but in reality, now in retrospect, when you see it, it's because he was dealing with Thanos and he knew that. So he's like, I better deliver on what I'm promising to do. So I better play this like crazy. There's so many moments for Loki that make him such a complex character to the point of everything that you were saying already to his, we always. We want to forget Thor: Dark World number 2, but
he's the best part of that movie.
He's the best part of that movie.
Well, even when he turns into Captain America.
Yeah, that whole scene where he's manipulating the reality and everything like that. It's like, is this what you wanted me to see? And he's torn up about his mom dead. Yeah. He's absolutely torn up. He's like, yeah, you know what? I was an asshole, a part of this family, but I cared about this family. Yeah. And that's what sucked about how I was treated, is the fact that I was adopted and everything like that, and I'm never gonna have what I want, but I'm still a part of this family. And that internal conflict that he has, to me, he played so well. And he does, and then there's other things that through dialogue through Thor that you're just like, this is so great.
The snake thing.
Yeah, the snake thing is where literally the entire time is his whole childhood, Loki was trying to stab Thor and you don't understand why, but it's hilarious every single time. It's like, oh yeah, good memories. Where there's this one time he pretended to be a snake
because he knows I love snakes,
and then he just tried to stab me. It's like, what? That's hilarious. And then Thor's just laughing it off and doing whatever. But the idea of if he was to be ruler, he would just be a self-indulgent person. He was literally looking for respect, and that's all he ever wanted and cared about. From respect, from Odin, from Thor. He tries to find it in Thanos, doesn't get it. He tries to find it all over the place, and the only kind of person that respected him was his mom, and that's what makes that thing so much crazier, because it was just like, oh my god, this sucks. What's going to happen here? And then even that whole and him and Thor just played off each other so well. Yeah. The whole let's do get help. I don't want to do get help with embarrassment. No, let's do get help. We're doing get help. It's so good to me. It was like that back and forth dynamic. And that, to my point earlier, how I like to see people redeem themselves. I would say him trying to slime Thanos and trying to stab him was a big point of redemption. He was like, nope, you know what? I found my place. It is with Asgard. It is by my brother's side. I'm okay not being the one that everyone worships. I've had a good amount of that already in Ragnarok or whatever it is, and I'm just gonna play my role. And it just didn't work out well for him. So
it never would have.
It never would have.
I was like, you were going so slow.
Yeah, I'm like, you. It's nice that he tried that, but
he really got choked out to death.
Oh yeah,
holy shit,
he did. So Loki.
That's your number 3?
Yep, that's my number 3.
Yeah, my number 3 is Zemo.
Oh yeah.
Everything you said, he outthought them, and I'm not I get people think that he has a convoluted plan, but it's a comic book movie, one, and two, I never understand that criticism. Well, if this didn't happen, then I'm like, yeah, then the movie wouldn't happen. And then what are you talking about? Shut the fuck up. I do think that more so than even who don't people like? The Javier Bardem in Skyfall. They think his plan is too convenient. I'm like, fine. But there isn't a lot of convenient points in Zemo's plan. His plan is that Iron Man will be on the tail of Captain America no matter what. Yes. So the fact that they show up together, people are like, how did he know that they would be friends? He doesn't. He just knows that either they're coming together because they are friends, or
he's coming.
Iron Man has to come to get him. It's a very like there's nothing really like that crazy about betting on that if your whole plan was I'm gonna make them hate each other.
Yep.
And it's very clear early on that he's put them on opposite sides.
Yes.
And it's very clear that Iron Man has to go hunt him down. So like that's a very good plan that I never understand when people are like, "Bleh, too convoluted."
I don't get that
it's
either.
Too like how convenient. I'm like, well,
And I'm like, at that point, he had already achieved what he wanted. The Avengers had been torn apart already.
well, I mean, they hadn't been torn apart. They'd been kind of frazzled, but that because the real thing that tears them apart is that their two leaders are like, I don't fuck with that guy anymore. And like just even that he kind of like, because I remember them saying, "Oh, Iron Man's going to be the villain in Captain America 3," and I'm happy that when you actually see the movie, it doesn't play out that way.
Yes.
And in terms of who the villain is, it really does like depend on whose side you're on. Because I can see that Captain America essentially becomes Iron Man's villain by being like, "Yeah, my friend who we're trying to help out killed your parents, and I did know that all the time, and." Don't hurt him. Sorry, like it's like fuck you, man.
Yeah.
Like I really liked it, and I mean I love this has nothing to do with Zemo other than he got him to this point. Like that point where he's like where Iron Man says, "I don't care, he killed my mom." I'm like, that's like the realest thing I've seen in a superhero movie. Like yeah, that's a real issue. Like you killed my mom, the one parental figure I actually cared about. Yeah. You killed her, and so I'm gonna get you now.
And then you get that flip where you get Black Panther, where he's like, "You killed my dad,"
but like, well, he didn't.
But
Zemo
did. Yeah, he.
Oh, you're talking about when Zemo deals with
at the very end. So it's just like at that point, it's like, yeah, it's convoluted, sure, but he was already ready to kill himself. He already achieved what he wanted to do. He showed them the tape of like, here's the proof of Bucky as Winter Soldier killed your parents and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, I'm ready to take my life. I'm ready to join my family.
Yeah,
and
I'm
all
done.
That kind of
stuff. It's what he said. Like he had a plan. He was going to see it through, and then
carried it out. It was great.
And it's that reasoning alone, I feel like should earn him more points than people give him. Of like, yeah, I'm not going to try and fight you guys because I've seen how that plays out for everyone.
Yep.
You can fight each other, and then you'll be fucked. And it worked.
And it worked so well. And that also leads to some great moments after the fact that he gets captured, too. Is like that scene with him in that cell
Ross.
with Everett Ross. Like, you don't really get to see Martin Freeman be a dick very often, but he does it so well. And he did it so... They're like, please, just move an inch. Please, give me an excuse to do whatever I want. And it was really, really fun. And then the whole, like... That final scene where Tony reads the letter from Steve with a cell phone and everything like that, where it's just like it's like, yeah, I was trying to protect you, but now I realize I was just trying to protect myself. So there's that, like, he brings about this whole thing of like, not only is he destroying the Avengers, but he's destroying aspects of those Avengers internally too, which is really, really cool.
They have to doubt each other now, or themselves,
or doubt themselves as well, and it's fantastic. And that's where you can go like, oh yeah, now we have a Captain America that's not all gung ho about America. He turns they didn't call him Nomad, but the whole fact that he ripped off his star is like, quite frankly, Mr. Thunderbolt Ross, we don't care.
That ended in Winter Soldier when Pierce made him be like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
This is what you're doing? I fought all this time so you can do exactly what we were fighting against.
Yeah.
I'm done with this.
Yep.
But I think, I'm a big Zemo fan. I don't get when people are like, that's too convenient, because I always say this, like, I'm not here to watch movies about like ordinary people. It should be. I don't need them to have powers, and Zemo is a big example of that. I just need them to be extraordinary in some reason. Like, there needs to be a reason we're watching this.
Yeah, because if people were to say like, "Oh, it's too convenient for Lex Luthor," I'd be like, "Yeah, I would agree with the aspects of that."
The extended version shows how much work he put into that. It's just
absolutely but the theatrical
it's not
cut
as well put together.
We have to deal with. Yeah, but you're right. And that's what we were like when we did that episode. We were like, why didn't they just make the extended cut, the theatrical? It would have made so much more sense. That, to me, if you were to say like, oh, if you were just to watch the theatrical cut of Batman versus Superman, and say everything was too convenient, absolutely, because that holds place. But Zemo, no, it works out really, really well in his favor. Good choice for number 3. Number 2, I've got myself some Adrian Toomes. That's where my Vulture came into play. Like to everything that you were saying before, the acting of Michael Keaton. I love Michael Keaton. Seeing him on screen, he's just such great work. That one, like, that scene, him being like a real threat towards Peter and manipulating all those different things. But more than anything, I think it's refreshing seeing a comic book film where the stakes aren't always, I want to rule the world. He literally just, well, no, I just want to provide for my family because nobody else is doing that. I'm finally doing that kind of deal. So why the hell would you want to get caught? Don't go high profile. I just want one big score. Let's get this done. And it would have gotten done if, properly, if Spider-Man didn't interfere. And now, like, him being like, now I'm coming after you, is him being like, because you threatened my family's livelihood. Like, what the hell, man? Like, I wasn't hurting anyone. I was just stealing technology from Stark, and you're so loyal to Stark that you couldn't see that this was technology he didn't even want anymore.
Yeah.
He
and he's still complicated because he won't give up who Peter Parker is, which I guess it's not that complicated. He doesn't want to hurt his daughter any further, which will definitely lead to them connecting it to his daughter.
Absolutely. And that to me is like the integrity of that move alone is just that against who will be the Scorpion, is just like, if I knew who he was, he'd be dead. Yeah. And I'm like, legit. I like that a lot.
I really like Vulture.
Who do you got for number 2?
Thanos.
Oh, he went high on your list.
Yeah, I think what I like about Thanos and the person that I have at number 1 are how the audience actually reacted to them in an interesting way. Where I think even you said it when we did Infinity War that you thought his plan made sense. You obviously have thought about it more, and it doesn't. Yes. But it's that what I would call a false narrative, even though the writers think they've done this too. The false narrative that he's the hero of the movie or he's the protagonist. He's not. He's a bad guy, right? Like, and that's I think that is interesting that he's got this dedication to this thing, because it makes it that much more like insidious that he thinks he's helping by doing this horrible thing. Yes, like he isn't a good guy, or else he would think of just making more
resources.
And I also like that you even brought up Helen, how you thought she would be Death, and I thought she definitely was going to be Death. Yeah, that they changed it, and I'm not saying this is exactly it. I'm sure there's holes to poke in this, but I would say that most of what he's doing. Obviously, you can't take in every movie into account, but if you just saw Infinity War, which obviously these movies don't work that way, you could make a case for he's doing this for Gamora, that little girl that he saw on her planet. So if you look at him as a parent, not a hero, but like a parent that wants to make the world a better place for their kid, it is like this drive. Like, you would do anything to make sure that your kid can succeed in the world. And that's what makes him cry when he has to kill her. It's like, well, this is all for her, but like, am I really going to stop now because I need to kill her? Like, and he's a twisted guy. Like, he's a bad guy. So his logic is like, we got to keep going. I'm going to kill her even though this is all for her. That's why she's the first person he sees when he snaps his fingers and actually pulls it off. Because it is all for her, it's not for Death. And I think that's actually a little more relatable than, because I've never really fully understood what the deal was with I'm doing this for Death, other than I think
he loves her.
Yeah, but like I think there's a little more to grasp if you're like, he's doing this for Gamora. Like, this is like a parental thing of like, I'm helping create a better world for her, and then it all falls apart because he's a bad guy and he's not actually a good person, and that's why it's like, just kill half the people, and then there's less people to take all the stuff.
But it's funny because like love in general is like, I wrote a paper in university about this, and how I feel in media, love is the ultimate motivator to do evil things. It always is. Love for family, love for romantic love, or anything like that. It leads to the downfall of so many different heroes, and because it's so irrational, it's so crazy that it's so powerful to be like, I am going to do anything for a slight chance of keeping who I was. You saw Anakin Skywalker fall because of love. He massacres kids for love. He does all these different things. And of course, Thanos, in this example, kills everyone to make a better world for Gamora. And the only reason why he does it is because it's like, I ignored destiny once, I can't do that again.
I don't really get that line either.
And I don't like that to me.
But
is just like,
I want to adjust what I said, because I think it might be more he sees himself in Gamora. So really, it's just the love of himself, and that's why he does make a very. There's that scene where he's like, "You're a good fighter. That's me," or whatever. That's me. But I never taught you how to lie. That's why you're bad at it. And it's like he has got a vision of her that really is just a reflection of him. It's how he feels like, oh, this is. Of all the kids, what do you call, like thousands of kids, and it's like, like this is, she's the best. Yeah,
to me, it's egotistical in that moment, because what clearly is the metaphor there is that Gamora represents the best aspects of him.
What he thinks are the best aspects of him.
Yeah, and Nebula represents the worst, in the sense where...
I wouldn't put it as that, because I would just say he doesn't care about her. And that's why when she says, you should kill me, and he's like, that would be a waste of parts. He doesn't care about her. He's like, she's expendable as much as... not the Black Order. Like, they obviously are something to him. But like... if you consider how many kids he has across the universe, I'm sure she's just like, what is she to him other than she's important in how she relates to the one he actually likes, Gamora. But I don't think he puts a like hate or love on her. It's just like
on Nebula or
Nebula. I think he's just like, you're nothing to me.
See, I feel like Nebula means something to him, but it's what Nebula means to Thanos is that I can constantly get stronger, I can constantly get better, I just have to change myself, versus Gamora doesn't ever have to change because that's the purity, but I've changed so much that I feel like I can't get that back, and in order for me to actually justify myself as a good person to myself, Gamora still needs to be alive, and I need to be doing this for Gamora kind of deal.
Yeah, I feel like you just came around to that. She matters to him as much as it matters to Gamora.
Yes.
Yeah, because that could be anyone. There's nothing specific about Nebula. Yeah. Like if he caught Star-Lord before he caught Nebula, it would be the same thing.
It could be Cull Obsidian. It could be anyone. But it's just the idea that is like, yes.
Well, the Black Order, it's different because I guess they're different as well. Like they're not Gamora and Nebula, so they interact with him differently. Which is
interesting because those are his biological children. They never really lead into that in the movie, but they're his biological children versus Nebula and Gamora are his adopted children. Yeah. So it's kind of funny to me, like, maybe Loki should have adopted Loki.
Yeah, I think. Well, it obviously doesn't go well when he adopts the kids. I think. Yeah, I like Thanos, but I think that the read on him, like, I've always thought like it's a weird read if you do think that he's the protagonist.
It's very weird.
You would be like, then why doesn't he just double it? Because he's not the good guy. He's not. He is a very well written bad guy, and like most Marvel movies, the focus is on the Avengers as a team. So it's not the Captain America show. It's not the Iron Man show. It's all of them, and this is the villain they have to go up against this time.
Because it would be so funny, and of course, like, this is an idea that just came to my mind, so don't flesh it out, but it'd be so funny that if they wrote the whole thing of like Thanos is the hero, and they wrote it as like he's collecting the Infinity Stones and he does whatever he can to get the Infinity Stones, but then at the end when he does get them all together, he snaps his finger and instead of killing everyone else, he literally makes all the resources unlimited, and boom, the Avengers are the bad guys.
Yeah, because they wanted to stop him.
Yeah.
I think, what was I going to say? Yeah, I did, because I hear like, oh, he went on the hero's journey. I'm like, did he, or did he just do exactly what he wanted to do and we watched it?
Well,
there's no like, he didn't reject anything. He doesn't like really gain anybody. Like, there's actual elements to the hero's journey that don't apply to what he was doing. He's just going on his straight path. Like, you don't like, you learn things about him, but that's not like revelations to himself. Like, you're just learning how ruthless he can be. That's the other thing I liked about him, the way he kicked Hulk's ass.
Oh my god!
Because it's not even clear that he needed the power gem.
Yeah,
he seemed like he knew what he was doing. He was pretty precise.
Yeah, it was
So
so
that was
fluid.
amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
He does take the hero's journey, but because he's not a good quote
But
unquote
hero's
good
journey,
guy,
like
it's
obviously
just
the
a
best
series
way
of
to see.
steps. That's all it really
There's
is.
there's like a 12 thing like
Yeah.
actual marks of what a hero's journey is.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so he doesn't go on that because the way you would plot that out in your head is what Frodo goes on in Lord of the Rings.
Or
So he's
what
not
Luke
like
does, or
but he's not like gaining a team. He's not doing any of that. He's just
Well-
doing what he wants to do.
Well,
throughout the whole
arguably,
thing.
many of the steps were done beforehand.
But that's what I'm saying.
And he's at
That-
the end of his hero's
So that's what
journey.
I'm saying. It's not a hero's journey because that's a hero's journey you would actually watch play
Right.
out. You wouldn't just be like, yeah, that happened before the movie started. Like
Right.
that's
It is.
That's
a,
not
it is
that
a
is a,
cop-out.
you get, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and we don't know what Avengers, the next Avengers is going to do, like whether or not they're going to explore like the younger aspect of Thanos, which I secretly hope. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people are like, who cares?
Not so secretly.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
did talk
I
about
do.
it a lot.
I do.
But yeah, I
hope.
don't think I feel like he's someone who yes, the audience learns more layers
Yep.
about, but he is a fully realized character
Yes, he is.
when you see him.
Yep.
Even to the extent that you don't even see how he got his first gem.
Yep.
Like the movie isn't actually interested in like
Mhm.
building up. It's just he is who he is.
Yep.
And then you're just gonna learn as people keep
Oh, absolutely.
going at him.
There's no development for
Yeah.
that character. It's just, you have one hard decision to make, and you make it very quickly.
Yeah.
That was it. So I absolutely agree. Like every character has a hero's journey, but how much of that you see is a different story, and you see very little of his. You basically see him getting the ultimate prize and him sharing the prize, which is more resources for everyone. Like that's his thing. Like that's his. So you see like the latter steps of it. But you don't see the whole thing. You don't see the whole like call to action. You don't see the whole meeting the wise mentor or whatever. You don't see those aspects of it, but they occur. But
I
anyways,
know who would be the wise. I don't know. I don't think it is, but
Right.
a lot of people do. So I'm clearly in the minority there.
yeah. I have a feeling we have the
Yeah, obviously.
same number one.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, are we gonna say it at the same time? Let's say
No,
it at
we're
the same
not.
time.
You're gonna
Let's
say
the
it,
same-
and then I'm
are
gonna
you
say it
at the
slightly
same time?
off.
I'm gonna say it at the same time.
Say it in
It's
4,
Mr. Damn it! You're really committing to not saying
4, 3, 2.
1.
What's happening, Killmonger?
Killmonger.
Yeah.
Damn it, we missed it.
I've made up.
We can edit that. It's Killmonger, number 1. I had a feeling that you and I are going to arrive to the same conclusion. Honestly, he's such a great villain. Such a great villain.
Another person I feel like people read the wrong way, but
Yes.
like, because I feel like people read too much into him being like, oh, like he said the right things. Like he was
You
like,
did.
like black people, whenever they want to
Mhm.
have an uprising, they don't have the weapons like you do. Why don't you help?
Yep.
But again, that's what I like about the character, that he's written in a way that
Yep.
like people can be like, see, he was right, and it's like, no, he's like a legitimately bad person
Yeah.
the whole movie.
You can't advocate for killing people and still be a good person unless it's like the execution of a suicide person.
But like, I
mean,
I would say like
serial killer.
the way the movie is set up
Yep.
is like there's all this respect for women in the movie.
Mhm.
I think who puts hands on a woman? Like the South African bodyguard puts a hand on Okoye
Yep.
in an aggressive way.
Yep, and regrets that.
But Killmonger is the only like other person in the movie that like puts his hand, like they make a point of that. He fights the Dora Milaje. They make a point of him shooting his girlfriend.
Yep.
They make he's like he is going against the like whole thing that's set up in the movie of like this respect for women and them having their own agency. Like the way he chokes out the woman because she won't burn all the flowers. Like he's disrespectful and he's a bad guy, and his whole thing was, he even says, I killed people from this very continent just so I could get to you and kill you.
Yes.
His ultimate goal is to kill Black Panther and to make them pay for once again, perfectly reasonable, but he's not like, he isn't the good guy. He's not like
He's
trying to
not.
liberate anyone.
Yeah.
He wants people to pay for when he got left without a father back in Oakland.
Yeah, he's not looking to liberate. He's looking for retribution.
Yeah.
And like that's what it's clear what he's going for the entire movie. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna like. And his hatred has grown to a point where he's like, he can't stop at just killing Black Panther. He's got to be like, nope, we're gonna throw a revolution. We're gonna kill everyone involved and everything that made me the way I am. And
because he says like, I will kill anyone who even thinks of following you. And it's like that. And I think I'm speaking to a very specific audience when I'm saying these things, because I've read all the headlines and some of the think pieces about like why Marvel was wrong to make Killmonger the bad guy, because they see him as this embodiment of Black Americans. And I'm like,
no.
I mean, if you're used to being seen a certain way, I guess you could see it that way, but that's clearly not the case, because the Black Americans are clearly supposed to be kids that play basketball. Like, they're the younger, I mean, in comparison to an ancient civilization like Wakanda, they are the younger Black people that could make things better. But by the time you meet Killmonger as an adult, all the brainwashing has been done by the white Americans who have taken him on and taught him how to disrupt complete civilizations and take over and ruin them. And that's exactly what he's on course to do. And I always lean back to why, if he actually wants to liberate people and give them all the tools they need, why would he burn all the flowers so that only he has that power? Because he wants to stay on top. He doesn't want an equal thing.
Because that's the thing. He wants to stay on top, and he's like, okay, you can take what won't ever threaten me.
Exactly.
And that quintessentially is what we're talking about in regards to the systemic racism and the oppression and all those kind of things. Is like, yes, we want everyone to have equality as long as it doesn't threaten our way of life. And that's exactly his physical, like, he's the embodiment of that thought. Is like, nope. No one can ever have these flowers. I'm the only one that's a Black Panther and all that kind of stuff. And yes, we're going to liberate you from the perspective of, you're going to harm the people that I want to harm. You're going to do what I want to do. And that to me is, he's that embodiment. He's that aspect of it. He represents that way, that oppression. And that's why he can't be a good guy. Don't get me wrong. There's the thing that makes him my top villain is the fact that his pain, his suffering, everything like that.
You understand where he's coming from.
Every aspect, and you understand it. The humanness of that character makes it so much crazier to me.
Yeah, he is a well-written character.
Yes.
He plays it really well, but it's just, that is what makes him the top villain, is because you understand why he's doing what he's doing.
Yes.
He does it well, but like, don't get caught up in like the sound bites he has. You got to really pay attention to what he's doing, because he's actually a bad person.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing too, is like, if you were to actually philosophically take that aspect of like, I can identify with lots of him, is to also realize that no single person is fully good and no single person is fully bad either. There's aspects of
that was the T'Chaka thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the T'Chaka thing where you're like, yeah, you were a great king. And this to me is like one of those funny things where I think there's a certain point in everyone's life where you realize your parents are as dumb as you are.
Yeah.
And that to T'Chaka's like, you made all these stupid mistakes. All of you screwed up. I got to do things differently and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It was like that growth moment for him, where it came really late in the movie. But I mean, like, for T'Challa, it is really like, there's a lot of like our own growth, our own maturity that's reflected in that movie. And of course, we've gotten off topic from talking about Killmonger. Well, at least I have. But Killmonger, like, and his dedication to everything like that too, at the very end, where he's like,
he made his point, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna pal around with you. Don't save me. I'm done.
He's like, what do you think is gonna happen? You know, I'm not gonna stop. You know, I can't be stopped. So you gotta kill me, or I gotta kill myself right now. Just do me a favor. And like those last words he said, just like, oh my God, it fucked me up so much. It's like, just throw me in the water with the rest of my ancestors and everything like that. Because I'd rather die in the waters
he
than
can't live
be
in that
bound
world.
in bondage.
Yeah.
He can't. He's not a person that's fit for this world to function in it. So he's like, no, I didn't succeed doing this. I have to take myself, like, I have to be removed. I know that that's the answer ultimately.
Yeah, it's like you won, but
Yeah.
you winning means I have to go because
Yeah.
I'm not. It's everything he said. Like it would be bondage for him to live the way
absolutely.
T'Challa wanted to live.
Yeah, and it would be like, no, we can rehabilitate you. We can do these things. We're sorry and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, but that's not me. That will never be me. So you got to kill me.
Yeah,
you got to make that decision. You're king now. Deal with it.
Yeah, Killmonger, number one.
Number one
great.
villain in the MCU for sure. 100%. All right.
We did it.
We did it. Top 10 MCU villains.
Do you want to say yours again and I'll say mine?
All right. From 10 to 1, we have Aldrich Killian, the real Mandarin. Winter Soldier at 9. 8 is Ultron. 7 is Red Skull. 6 is Thanos. 5 is Hela. 4 is Baron von Zemo. 3 is Loki. 2 is Adrian Toomes, Vulture. And number 1 is Killmonger for Ben.
My number 10 is Crossbones. My number 9 is Hela. My number 8 is Ulysses Claw. My number 7 is Red Skull. My number 6 is Ultron. My number 5 is Loki. My number 4 is Vulture, Adrian Toomes. My number 3 is Zemo. My number 2 is Thanos. And my number 1 is Killmonger.
Boom.
We did it.
We did it.
Well, thank you very much for listening. We are a proud part of the Dork Shelf Podcast Network, so please go to dorkshelf.com and see all the other cool podcasts there and all the other cool things they're doing. They've got reviews, interviews. And as I mentioned earlier, tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten for our social media coordinates and our backlog of episodes from previous years. Yeah. Please rate and review us on...
share, do your thing. Make us viral.
Tell friends about it.
Not in the disease way.
No, in the cool, hip way that all the kids are talking about.
Yeah, where we get retweets and screenshots and that get taken out of context and photoshopped and all that kind of stuff and made controversial.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
And shout out to Page of the Wind because they're cool. They're also part of the Dork Shelf Network.
Mm-hmm.
But we like them. Not the most. We just really like them.
Yep.
I like me the most. Yep. If I have to be honest.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's more than fair.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.